Welcome back to Landshark Garage. On this episode, we're going to put that rear end that we got from my buddy Rick a couple episodes back into the 80 Camaro, get rid of that one wheel peeler so we can really tear up them Cooper Cobras when we get them mounted up on them freshly painted rims. This is a Posi rear end. Not sure what the gear ratio is. We're going to pop the cover off, take a look at it. Let's do this. One of the first things we had to do is reposition our jack stands so they're underneath the frame. This is a unibody, so they're just not underneath the axle. I've got all the nutsies and boltsies soaking in a little bit of deep creep and give them a chance to marinate. I did get new U-bolts. This uses a T-bolt setup on it, so I got T-bolts also. Got some different shocks. We're gonna get this thing out of here, get that one in. All right, so we're gonna pop the cover off of this rear end just to make sure the gear ratio in it. Rick wasn't really sure exactly what it was. He knew it was in the 3s someplace, so we'll take a look at it, count it, see what it is. We talked about this. Let me put this in here so you can see it better probably. We talked about this last time. The way to tell these 8.5-inch rear ends is they've got this square boss right here on both sides. There's one here and there's one here, where a 7.5-inch ring gear has just like a fang hanging down here. And I've talked about that several times, like in the G bodies and stuff. Of course, this is Camaro rear end, so it's got the mounts on it, whatnot. But 10 bolt should be 8.5-inch ring gear in there. Pop this cover off, see how big of a mess we can make. Probably won't be as good as the last time. Shouldn't be anyway. I got it tilted on this table so that I don't lose all the fluid, hopefully. He's pretty sure he put fluid in it. Thought it was new. Sometimes when it's been sitting on his floor for a while, so sometimes when you try and remember stuff that was going on, you aren't always remembering everything. Let's see if I can do this without making a mess this time. Yeah, it's got pretty fresh looking fluid in it. That's awesome. So there we go. 8.5-inch Posi rear end. You can see the Posi versus the open differential. When we pull that other one out, I'll show you that, but I think we had it in the last one. Usually you don't have this washer that's in here and the plates and stuff like that. When you have a Posi rear end, you got to run some additives in there to friction modifiers so that you don't burn up them clutches that are in the Posi unit. But see if we can figure out what gears are. Oh, is it right up on top? It is nice. Trying to do this without spilling any. So if you look right on the pinion, there's a GM number, and there's a 12 and a 41. You divide 41 by 12, you get 341. So it should be like 343s that are in here. So they'll be an all right gear. Posi's going to help out a lot. We should be able to work on them Cooper Cobras quite nice with these. We're going to flip this back together, get underneath the car and get that old one wheel peeler out of there. And we can start switching over brake stuff. I don't even think I'm going to mess around with that. I thought about putting a different gasket in here, but this one came apart real nice. The rear end oil's nice and clean, so I don't have to worry about that. I'm going to put a little friction modifier in there just in case Rick didn't. I am pretty sure he did, as much experience as he has with GM vehicles, but not going to hurt to put a little bit more in there. And then I don't do it anyway, so I should probably do that. There's a lot of different brands of this stuff out. This is Champion. It's just a limited slip additive. There's a Trans-X, and I'm sure all the major companies have different versions of it. I just happened to pick some of this Champion up one day, I guess. I'm not real brand specific on stuff like that. Figured I better have some, so we'll just add a little bit to it. Not going to hurt to have a little extra in there if it is, as long as it's this modifier. Dexter decided to stay in the house with Mrs. Landshark for a while, so he'll probably be out later, and then they can argue about whatever the hell they argue about on a daily basis. I'm going to put all but one bolt back in here. I'm going to leave the bolt out with the limited slip tag on it, because we're going to paint this so it's all purdy. And I kind of want that tag to be silver. Oh, doesn't make any difference, but it'd be cool. Then I don't have to clean the tag off. I can just pop it back in there once we get done painting things. As long as I don't paint the tag. Into about right there. All right, so we're going to start taking that one wheel peeler out of there. Get this thing ready. Give it a coat of paint tonight, so it's all nice and pretty and black when we put it in. So we're going to take this nut off them coilover shocks, and the 4 nuts off of the leaf spring bracket. So there's, on the inside there's 2 T-bolts, and on the outside it's a U-bolt. And I bought new bolts, but hopefully we're gonna be able to salvage them. I cut the emergency brake cable because when we were doing the interior work, we realized that there is no emergency brake on this. It's been cut out before, so we aren't gonna worry about that. I don't know if this DeWalt's gonna have enough snort to do this or not. Woo! I wasn't expecting that, I guess. But that's fine. I don't know. Hope the other 4 bolts come out that easy. The bolts on the rear end are 11/16. They're probably going to take some air by the feel of it. Let me get the air hose out. I'm going to run around and grab that shock bolt on the other side, see if it comes off as easy. You're not going to let go, is it? Son of a gun. Oh yeah, that's going to break. This will be fun. I wouldn't sit right there.
I think you should have a torch.
People say that a lot. I'll be right back. I need an extension. This extension's so long, I gotta keep it outside. Oh, look at that. What the crap. Yeah, what the crap?
You break it?
No. Oh, what the crap. That's weird.
I think you must have just got it loosened enough.
No, it didn't. I won't take it off with the gun though. So that rubber, it's gotta be that rubber that's holding it. But this is putting tension on that, so beating down on that should
eventually
break it loose. Did you forget to cut that brake line? That brake line. I need to chop it. Okay, here we go. Ready? On 3. 1, 2. Why is it? What are we balancing on here?
The jack.
Is it? Yeah, there we go. Awesome.
Now you gotta. You should have left it on the jack because you could have pulled it that way more.
Well, I was more worried about screwing up any of these brake parts, so I don't want to have to buy new brake parts. There we go. Well, that's how that works. So now we're going to get the shocks out. Try and cap that brake line until I take it out, which will probably be tomorrow. I've got new wheel cylinders, but they don't come with these new bolts. And they're very specific bolts, so I'm going to soak them to try and so I can get them so I can save those bolts. Otherwise, everything else on this rear end is I'm going to save the pan, the yoke, and I'm going to pop these 2 axles out of here. The rest of it's going in the garbage. Just because the axles I could reuse if I have a problem with an axle on that one. And people are looking for yokes a lot, so I'm just going to part it out and get that bad boy in there once we paint it. All right, well, we're back out here at it. Did some painting last night, which usually means we get to go in the house because of the fumes. So we put some lipstick on this pig. We were able to salvage these little rubber cushions. Hopefully they're going to go back in there when we put everything back together. Them cleaned up, new brake line on. We're going to put the wheel cylinders in. Put brake lines on the new axle before we put it in. Like I said, we kind of cleaned everything up and beautified it. And do some more when we get everything mounted up. So let's tackle this. I did not have to try and save those wheel cylinder bolts we were talking about, because when I ordered the T-bolts and U-bolts that hold the axle in, I ordered a set of wheel cylinder bolts because I know what a pain in the butt they are. They're pretty specific. They're not very long. So it's one of those things you really got to try and keep close to you, just kind of like the links for the wheel cylinder. They're kind of hard to get to. So wheel cylinder goes in, always with the bleeder screw up so that you can get the air out of it. Get that in there, tighten it up, and then we're going to try our hand at making some brake lines. I suck at that, so that'll be fun. Well, not making them. I buy them all pre-made because I have a hard enough time with the pre-made ones. We did have some issues with the old brake hose underneath the car. Then I let that soak overnight with some Go Fast juice, and finally got it to break loose this morning. We ended up cutting the line when we cut the line off when we took it out, just for ease, and then that actually even made it easier to take that hard line out of it. I didn't want to have to try and fix a hard line at the same time that I was trying to put this all back together. So if I remember right from the old one, the brake line, let's see, the brake line came out and went up because of this U-bolt that goes across there. U-bolt goes right here, so I wonder if I should have that U-bolt in there beforehand. I remember that brake line giving me fits yesterday trying to get the old one out, the U-bolt out. So that goes down like that. When I was trying to take that out, I had to come straight up with it, and I was having problems with the brake line. I do remember that. Brake line runs along the back and then comes back to the front. from the factory. I don't know if that's how it's going to go or not. We'll see. So if I run it to the back, I've got to go out, come across, bend back over and into this. And if I run across the front, I really only have to make 2 bends. And the only thing is I wouldn't have that retainer that holds the brake line on. But I gotta have that far enough out of the way so that I like this. It's like a nickel copper line. Some people like the harder line. I like something that bends real easy, doesn't give me a lot of misery. If I come out of that, so that wheel cylinder comes down at a little bit of an angle, so I got to have an angle going this way first, like that, pretty much. And basically go in like that. You don't really want to tighten this stuff all the way up. And I know they make benders for this stuff because I've got them. But with this nickel copper, it bends so nice that you can kind of do it on the fly. Like we're doing right here. Still take that out. Works for me. I'm more of a plastic zip tie guy now. I'll put 2 plastic zip ties along there so it holds it against the axle. And should never have any problems with it. Cut them off nice and straight so I don't murder myself on them. Probably gonna throw some paint at this just so it's doesn't look out of sorts underneath there. I can still get my U-bolt in. T-bolts go in the front. I'll show you them T-bolts. I ordered them. Keep talking about them, but 2 different sizes of them, short and long, so I ordered 2 of each. Mine ended up all being short, but that's not a big deal. There'll just be a little bit more thread hanging down on the bottom, but I split them out between them, and then a U-bolt. So U-bolt and 2 T-bolts versus 2 U-bolts like a normal leaf spring setup. Well, not normal, but most leaf spring setups that I've dealt with are like that. So this brake line that goes to the passenger side runs along the front of the differential and then to the back and then over to the wheel cylinder, and it's about 40 inches long. So we're going to tackle that one and see if we can get it to go as smoothly as the last one did. Wheel cylinder first. So I had to got all the hardware cleaned up for the brakes to go back in. If you remember, I already did the brakes on this once, the drum brakes. That was when we just kind of did a walkthrough on that rear end to see what we had for gears, which ended up being 2 McNothings or something like that. And they're horrible anyway. So now, after Rick came up with these 341s, why isn't that going in there? We can transfer everything to this, but when I put the other ones back together, knowing that rear end wasn't going to be in there a long time, I didn't really clean everything up. So I've got all the links and brackets and stuff that we need. As I said yesterday when I was working on this, that the the emergency brake is just gone from this. There's nothing. There's no emergency brake pedal or anything. So I cut all that stuff out. Well, I hope I don't have a bad wheel cylinder here. It's not liking the bolt for some reason. It's actually not wanting to go in that hole. Get in the hole. It's like the casting right along here isn't letting it go in there, that square casting. Well, I'm just going to hit that with the grinder a little bit and see if we can alleviate that problem. Get these tightened down in here. So this morning I was watching YouTube because I like to watch Mortsky on Monday. And by the time this video's out, he should have hit 100,000 subscribers. So congratulations, Tom. So like I said, this one, is this a 40-inch one? I had to go get another piece of brake line, yep. And I don't know, it's gonna be tight. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. But I also have a 30 and an 8. Well, that would be less. So this one's an 8-inch. That's gonna be too little. I don't really want a connector in there, but this one has to, we have the same problem over here with the U-bolt, I'm sure. So might as well put that in there. If I can get this 40, how about a 30 and a 20? That's gonna be 50. Because the original one ran like way around the front, but I don't know how they hooked it in. I mean, I do, that rear end has hooks on the front of it like this, clips to put it in, but this one didn't have the same clips, although it's same rear end, but I'm not sure what's going on right there then. But I could definitely burn up some brake line here. Don't want to go across the back of the pumpkin. See how I didn't paint that? Like that's a big deal. Use limited slip differential lube only. Use the looby doobie for that. But what the heck, we'll just put it in there. I don't know if I should come out of this. Go up this way. Come out. I could attach it here. Bring it across the front, attach it here. I think that might be the way to do that. So if I use that 20, go with a 30-inch one. I think I could get a 12-inch one probably. We might have to ruin some brake line here to see what we're going to do. I always have 3/16 brake line laying around someplace because it seems like I'm always at a point where I need to replace a brake line or fix a brake line. 3/16 seems to be the more common. So if I go across there, bend this back this way, it's going to get me out here where I got to put a junction in. I'm okay with that. Spend a lot of time talking to myself when I'm out here, but oh, I don't got the guys out here. I should go back in and get them. Kind of let them hang out inside today for a while I was cleaning up and doing some odd things out here. Go back and get a grab on them. You never know how these are, if these are tight enough. You know, you get everything put together and then pretty soon you got brake fluid dripping, and brake fluid is the worst. So I ended up putting a 20-inch piece on there because I didn't have a 12-inch piece, and I don't want to run to get a 12-inch piece. It's all new. As soon as I hit it with the black paint, you aren't going to be able to tell anyway. Alright, so we're going to try and get this back under the Camaro. Just the two of us. So we kind of rigged up this little cart like we used when we took it out, just using some wheel dollies. We'll put that into there. The bar will hold it level. We're going to bring it around, put it in the car, take it off to one side, try and slide it in, then put the other side in. Well, I'm not sure at what point the battery died. We got her in there. A little struggle. Wasn't bad. Getting things lined up was probably the hardest thing. The only thing left to do now is put all the brake shoes back together, throw the shocks in there. That's pretty straightforward. I'm not going to bore you with that. Quick little project. Put those 342 gears in with the Posi. Got rid of the one wheel peeler. Get them Cooper Cobra mounted up. They're going to look nice on there. We've got the rims painted. Got center caps. Got the Cooper Cobras mounted. Spent about 20 minutes discussing raised white letters versus black walls. We like it a lot. This is drooping in the rear end, that's why that looks so goofy. So you just fix itself when you put it on the ground, but we like the way that looks. I'm glad we made that change. Hey everybody, thanks for following along. Never forget, drive your shit. We'll see ya. Here we go. Let's do this. Let's get after it. This is gonna be a greasy pig.